Hello! How are you? Started it before I was ready, so let me do one thing. Welcome back to the Funk Treatise, uh, 5th edition, as read by today, pages 61 through 70, as read by Jacob Cisneros. Again, Jacob, thank you for reading these pages and sharing your thoughts. And also, as of today, while I'm doing this recording, it is your anniversary. So congrats on that. Congratulations to you and Chelsea, and to many more years of you two. And so, without further ado, let us get into pages 61 through 70.
They say it.
Uh, it starts a little bit sooner, so I'm going to read the top of page 61. A little bit must have got cut off somewhere. But that is progress, parability. Subsequently, when the band begins to make money or success, we should divide that income and success evenly and care for each other as ourselves. And if in the future we profit even more, we should redistribute it to everyone and everything that was a part of the structure and or foundation. We are in this together. Every brick, every crack. Because if you don't look back to repair the cracks, you'll be left with the results from your slacks. Again, remember to check in and reevaluate ourselves, each other, and everything.
They say it takes a village to raise a child. All the bands and venues, if a child is excluded from the bands and or venue, it could likely become a beast and resent these bands and venues. Then it will likely eventually return to destroy the band, venue, village that excluded it. Everyone should play
Oh, I accidentally stopped the wrong recording. Hold on. Let me go back a second.
that excluded it. Everyone can play, share, and everyone should play, share, often with each other. Once we are all able to
Um, though, we just heard it. It takes a village to raise a child. It really does. I mean, you could raise a child by yourself, but it definitely helps to have a greater support system, a better community. Um, And if a child is excluded from the bands or their venues, it could likely become a beast. And what I mean by that is there is a quote uh, that I heard recently that expands on this. Um, that's it right there. Okay. It's a proverb. The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And that's kind of where I was getting at. If we don't, if we um, exile children or even people uh, from our communities and everything, depending on the reasons for, of course. Um, but even the terrible people, like if it, let's say it's not just a child, if we exile someone, uh, they could come back, in resentment to burn down the village. So what do we do in those situations and everything? Like, how do we properly hold people accountable, and how do we uh, nurture the nature of children um, as a village? Because not every village is the same, and some don't even have proper villages. And especially now with, like, I know here in the States, I can't speak for every culture and everything, but it definitely feels super spread out uh, in Houston and in the suburbs and everything. Like, it doesn't really feel like villages anymore. These cities and suburbs are so spread out that even the people right next to you, your neighbors, you hardly even know them. Uh, and that's the society that we've kind of built in some areas. Not all areas and not all cultures are the same. Um, that's just a pattern I see in my surroundings and hear about in others' surroundings. Um, let's continue. Everyone can play, share, and everyone should play and share.
share our sounds and intermingle between bands and venues in the infinite symphony of existence, we will further understand what it means to funk and to be funk. August 31st, 2022. Adding some thoughts I've saved in my phone. If you have a thought or idea and you don't take note of it or save it, it can very likely be forgotten and possibly could only be remembered under an assumption of recreated imagining of what it was rather than what it is or could have been. You must take action and create your then reality to historically view, construct, and experience the alternate desired future. Simple as thinking and taking action. We must take action now and unite together as a funk and continue expanding. That is not to say that if you don't, then you are wrong. This would fall under an argument of what actions or lack of are more helpful than other actions of doing or not doing within particular circumstances.
And that's kind of more or less what we've been discussing uh, across all of these pages until now. And that's going to be a repeating pattern and theme.
My name is Jacob Cisneros, and I will be reading pages 61 through 70.
Oh, there's the intro.
Subsequently, when the band begins to make money or success, we should divide that income and success evenly and care for each other as ourselves. And if in the future we profit even more, we should redistribute it to everyone and everything that was part of the structure and or foundation. We are in this together, every brick, every crack. Because if you don't look back to repair the cracks, you'll be left with the results from your slacks. Again, remember to check in and reevaluate ourselves, each other, and everything. If you feel you are subjectively or objectively not existing to your fullest,
Now it's jumping back to where we were.
then perhaps you are consciously or subconsciously attempting to tell yourself it is time to do more. That being said, you do not have to be anything other than yourself. But if you desire, go for it. Any chance or lack of is superpositionally right, wrong, correct, incorrect, and beyond, and you'll never be able to empirically, factually, and or philosophically truly identify an experience if it is, was, never attempted. Because if an attempt was or is never made, then you could only assume the results of your imagination or something else's experience. Take joy in success or failure, making it a choice, and then keep going from there. Here's an exercise.
Hold on. What I mean in the top of that paragraph, because the bottom is kind of, again, just reiterating things that we've already kind of talked about. But the top, talking about if you feel that, like, I've noticed, and I hear a lot of things that talk about this. And again, there's no, like, proof to these things. These are just suggesting these patterns so that we can, again, engage more discourse and dialogue and see where they go, to see if we find more answers. But if you feel like you're not existing to your fullest and everything, then your subconscious and yourself, is probably realizing, like, it's time to do more. It's time to do something else than being here in this moment. Even if it means shifting to the left 1 foot, changing your perspective. Doing something will change that. It'll alter your influence and perspective. And so, again, like I said, you don't have to be anything other than yourself. Just by moving a little bit, can change that entire environment. And if you want to move a little more after you move, then maybe follow that feeling. It is up to you. You have that choice. You have that will. And that kind of dives into, I think we've talked about it a little bit before, but if not, on the feelings of, yeah, we did recently, of being stuck, of being trapped. And I think that, like, a lot of people that I talk about who are depressed or feel depression and stuff is because they feel stuck. They feel trapped in this moment that they can't escape from, and that sucks. I mean, I know I have been there at some points. Thankfully, not anywhere near as deep as some people get. But I propose that, like, if we were able to take these people and actually give them the opportunity of relocating their lives and being there for them in, like, different ways, rather than, like, keeping them in the same environments that's already causing them this depression, I think that you would see significant change. And again, that's just for my own personal experience and advice. We don't actually know that because it is different for anyone and everyone. But I have a sneaking suspicion that would help a lot. and there's something that I propose later, uh, a funk network of travel and trade, essentially. But we'll get into that later.
If you really want to test your priorities, imagine you died right now at this moment. Now you are a ghost and reflecting upon your life, no longer able to interact with it. What are the things you believe would most stick out after your imaginary death? As you contemplate the life you once had, what makes you feel like, I wish I could have done that before, I now couldn't? Go do these things. But also remember, it will be okay if you can't. One moment at a time until you are out of moments.
Uh, but yeah, if you really want to test, like, what should I do? What should I do next? Uh, Use that as a kind of exercise. Be like, man, if I die right now, what am I gonna? What do I regret not doing, or what do I wish I had done? Like, even if it's um, like if you miss someone, or you want to talk to someone, or say something to someone, maybe now is the time to do it, or find some time to do it. Uh, if again, figure out those feelings of what you wish you had done, and then work towards them. Don't, maybe not immediately jump into them. Kind of dip your toes in, work out a little bit, exercise your thoughts before you move in, but recognize that your internal is basically reflecting, like, maybe I should do these things. This is the first thing that came to mind when I thought that. And so maybe that is something holding you back right now, or not.
Hypocrites prefer to worship the silent gods whom they can speak of as self-anointed ventriloquists of self-entitlement, even if elected by a group. Selfish tribalism.
And what I mean by that is, like, when you look at religion and history and people who, not just religion, but like people in power who take advantage of others, it seems that the people that they take all this advice from and everything are speaking through them and telling them that they have these things, and they can do these things, and they have the power and the right to do these things, uh, just because they've been put in that position of power. Um, and that should be questioned, you know? There's more to that thought, but let's keep going.
Free will is the ultimate test of determinism. Once an individual, beyond singular monad or collective holarchy, is within a metaphysical frame of caravanialistic choice, that being is now speaking on behalf of its creator and itself. All individuals will then act, react to, from, with their knowledge and understanding in a place of what is beyond before them in an action of power and selfishness, or communal selflessness, depending upon the self character, wants, needs, and being.
Excuse me, I'm going to reread that one. Uh, Sorry for the silence. Free will is the ultimate test of determinism. Once an individual beyond singular monad or collective hierarchy is within metaphysical frame of caravanialistic choice, that being is now speaking on behalf of its creator and itself. All individuals within okay, so essentially what I'm saying is, like, you have the power to speak for yourself and everything, but you're also speaking on behalf of the reality that has sent you here. And so, depending on how you choose to relay that information, is, again, this whole idea of speculation and debate and what is right or wrong, what is ethical, what is moral. Um, but what I call you to do is to just do something, um, or don't. But that's, again, highlighted in the do. If you just don't do, that is still a doing. And so I'm just still calling you to verb in some way.
Learning is the process of what you understand, what you retain, and what you can recall. In my opinion, a soulmate is metaphysically and socially anyone or anything that your soul, influential being, has connected with directly or indirectly in shaping with who or what you are. Some of these mates have more or less interactions with or effect than others, but no matter what size or amount of interaction, Their influence is irremovable, e.g., anyone reading this message is a soulmate, as you can never unread these words, and they are now part of our influential soul beings forever, thus quantumly linking our souls together throughout time and space. So, if you withhold yourself by reserving time and space from only one singular romantic or fantasy soulmate, you'll miss out on some incredible soul opportunities.
And what I mean by that is there are deeper soulmates than others, most definitely. But everyone and everything that you've ever interacted with was a soulmate to a degree, depending on how small or how big. Even the people that you don't like were a soulmate to a degree. And again, that's where I say some are more than others. There are deeper soulmates than others. And there are romantic soulmates, and there are non romantic soulmates. The ones that are nice are sometimes the romantic soulmates. Um, it's very nice, to feel love and be loved. Moulin Rouge says the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. But look how that turned out. Good story though. Let's keep going.
Che Holloway. Why is it always people you support believe in you and build up the most that always end up trying to compete with you? Misunderstanding you, trash talking you, and stabbing you in the back. Asking for me, I apologize if anyone feels like this was my energy at some point in life. I get it. This is why I'm an introvert. Humans are messy. Playing the oblivious fools gets exhausting sometimes. Sean Penalber. It is a funk lesson in character and being. Take what you learn from the experience, reassess, reapply, re-examine, re-execute, reevaluate, and repeat. Take the time to be alone and think, but also take time to socially reach the next life challenge of your character. If you withhold yourself introvertly within a constant zone of comfort, you'll have a much harder time doing all of this. Gotta grow with the universe, level up together. Become introspective rather than introverted. An oblivious fool is never exhausted. I'm going to read that again. An oblivious fool is never exhausted. It is the thinker that has the ability to exhaust themselves. I'd expand on this more, but I'm in a hurry. Feel free to ask questions, and I'll be back when I can. August 18th, 2024. Additionally, we end up challenging those in our lives and those we love most because everything else isn't around as much to be challenged and or challenge us.
And I saw a really good another. They're just coming almost every day. And I'm glad I can use these examples today. A video that came up in my feed that I watched was about how thinking can be the thing that slows you down the most from reaching uh, thinking could be holding you back or like holding you down and stuff. Thinking has immaculate power, and people often confuse that ignorance is bliss because they don't have to think about it. Um, I can't remember how they put it, but essentially it's like they had a very good point that it's not that ignorance is bliss. It's just that like no the way it's kind of that like it's not because you know more that makes you suffer, but it's that you have the power to think about so much. And so people think that ignorance is bliss because you don't have to think as much. And that's why the archetype of the fool is able to live so happily sometimes because they don't have to think about it. They put it way better. If you'd like to find that video, that's going to be in um, the YouTube section, the playlist called The Funk. It's a very long playlist of just videos I find that I feel relate to funk and help me explain this, but like are explained through other people in other ways that are able to put their words and thoughts better translated. That will be in there. If I remember, I'll also link it down below. Why not? Um, but also, additionally, we end up challenging those in our lives and those we love most because everyone else isn't around as much to be challenged by or to challenge us. And so, to answer the question of like, why is it always the people you support and believe in and build up the most that end up trying to compete with you? Is because they're the ones who are directly in your life, and eventually those things sometimes come up, uh, and then it dives into how each of you handle that, depending on what the situation is. Again, it's all situational. It's a huge spectrum of everything.
Che Holloway. I appreciate this. I'm always learning and growing. Sean Penalber, arguably the best way to expand your existence across time.
Arguably.
Sometimes people can only focus on or remember the suffering they felt when experiencing, teaching, learning, challenging moments in life and or especially trauma. For example, a child or adult being mad at their parents for not catching them when they fall, when learning to walk or how to ride a bike, rather than introspectively assessing the next constructive action within themselves for themselves. Asking, why did I fall? What can I do to prevent that? Rather than, I keep falling because of this stupid bike and your pressure to make me learn how to ride it. Some humans never grow out of this. April 20th, 2024. Especially for trauma that is much worse. The individual has to concern itself more on the survival than the individuation. In Hindu psychology, it is said that when you have a trauma that you must overcome personally, then you would be individuating. But when you have an archetypal defense activated, then you are meant to help humanity individuate. Then your task becomes beyond the personal realm and it becomes a karmic task to help with the individuation of the community. Jungian Anthology podcast episode Early Trauma and Dreams Archetypal Defense of Personal Spirit. So my thoughts are that when these powerful or overwhelming events happen in our lives, we become stuck within the self and must overcome our past self experience by becoming one with the eternal selfless. As yourself, itself, funk.
And I think some would call that like, uh, let's use Christianity as an example, sin, or Islam, haram, you know, or even Judaism with sin. Basically, like, but let's step back out and just use trauma, for example. Um, Trauma lives deep within us, and there's even studies now that show that trauma can pass epigenetically, and our kids can still, outside of the nature, still have no outside of the nurture, still have the nature of that trauma in their DNA because they were once a part of you and you moved it into them. Uh, but what this quote is saying, uh, well, first is the mindset of before even the quote is just how some people never grow out of the uh, you are the problem. This thing is the problem. Uh, I don't want to learn this anymore because I hate it. It's stupid, you know. Rather than taking a step back, calming down, and then trying again. And I understand that trying again sometimes, and again, this is all situational. Every situation is different. And I understand that trying again for some things can be very much harder. And some things you should eventually stop trying to do. If you keep trying to do the same thing over and over again, that's what they say. It would be insanity, right? Um, but maturity, arguably, would be, again, asking yourself, why did I fall and what can I do to prevent that? What's going on? Or, hey, did you see what I asking for constructive criticism, rather than just giving up and throwing your bike away. Uh, but additionally, when it comes to trauma that's much worse, these quotes, and this episode was really interesting on this podcast, if I recall correctly about it, in talking about how like when we experience these traumas, uh, we have to concern ourselves beyond ourselves. And it's very difficult because you have experienced this trauma or this thing. And I don't want to give examples because that might trigger some things and also strike this channel, this video and stuff. Um, But in Hindu psychology, as they talk about, your task becomes beyond you. It in a way, if you and again, I don't have the answers to this, but what they suggest, what Hindu psychology suggests, is that to get rid of this trauma and to help relieve this trauma, either through you or through uh, a different past self or future self, like a reincarnated incarnation, your task then becomes uh, helping heal that, not just within yourself, but helping that it doesn't happen outside of yourself either. Both the selfish and the selfless. Uh, and so Hindu psychology is suggesting to become selfless. But it's much harder because that trauma keeps you inside. It gets you stuck in the self because you don't want to experience it again. And I mean, I can't blame you. Trauma sucks. And it really pulls you inside and it isolates you. And so what they suggest is that isolation carries over uh, into the next life unless you do something with the time you have now to do something about it, or your next life is going to have to deal with it in a way that they don't really quite understand. Uh, which I think that's interesting. That's why I left it here.
Philosophical engineering and the understanding of improving upon what works. If it works, whether efficiently or inefficiently, and or only acts as productive, then what is the next action to take? And when to settle on results, if ever? Yes, and if this, then what? Thesis, antithesis, or synthesis?
And that's kind of the what you see me questioning over here, and what I keep kind of relaying, of just like we see these things working, we see things that don't work sometimes. We see how even the things that don't work are still a form of working, and we see that some things that work are a form of not working. Um, and how do we like decide efficiently or inefficiently, like what is productive, what is constructive, what is destructive, um, and what are the next actions to take? And that is where this whole like question of like what is right, what is wrong, and where philosophy comes in and everything, like what is moral, what is ethical, we don't really know yet, but we're building these frameworks and everything together, uh, and we're just going to keep doing that. And that is why I keep suggesting you to verb, to just do, to be and do, uh, so that we can expand from this moment, because the moments that we see, what's coming to my mind right now is the whole idea of this MAGA series, this Make America Great Again, right? Like, when was America great? Uh, is a question that like some people were asking back to that. The challenging question of like, all right, if we're gonna make America great again, when was it great in the first place? And it's different for anyone and everyone. Overall, I think that we are in a system that does need improving. It can absolutely be greater. Um, And so, what makes it greater? You know, it's definitely not racism and fascism. I'll tell you that. Uh, and so that's what I'm kind of proposing. Is like, let's take all of history, let's look back on it, let's see the things that don't work, and let's try to move forward. But it seems that, like, especially right now, where we are, and sorry to get political and share my opinions, but like, it seems that there is again, at least what we're being fed and told, a rise of fascism again. And it's like we didn't learn from history. Uh, but again, it's that idea that ignorance is bliss and knowledge is suffering. And so the people who are involved in these things uh, are the ones who think about it all the time and they suffer. And the people who don't really put a lot of thought into it and just kind of follow the leader, uh, they're happy with that. That's their ignorance and it's blissful. There's better metaphors for all of that and everything. And if you feel insulted by any of these words, then that is how you feel. All right, let us keep going.
Almost bit my tongue.
Sorry.
April 15th, 2022. The following forum/thread was archived and can be found at the link below. What I've included below was being copied and pasted at the time of its happening, March 15th, 2023. I have included it in this treatise as examples of how people react to the information.
The way he read that is a little misleading. Uh, the time of its happening was 2019. And then March 15th, 2023 is another insert. And that's what he's reading right now.
When presented with it, how I was able to present it then, and as a comparison to how much time has evolved in presentation and knowledge understanding over time. I will also leave these parts within the form mostly unedited to further showcase the differences between then versus now. These were foundational, structural moments, interactions, ideas, and influences leading up to the present/future.
And that kind of follows this entire treatise, all of this and everything. I should be following on this page as well, so I don't miss anything that's getting left out from the 7th edition. But why I leave these sections of the past and everything is to just showcase how all of this has built, how all of it has evolved, and how I and you can look back at the past and see how much it's grown. Again, a lot of this throughout it, I sound like weird. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. I was like, oh, what the. I can't say what the heck I was talking about because I kind of knew what I was talking about. But there are some moments where it's like, what did I kind of mean there? Or I definitely wasn't saying that. I can see how that wasn't translating. It's the hindsight of learning, of knowledge, and recall. And that's why I leave all this in here, so you can see how it is evolved. But also, it shows great examples of how this information builds and how to understand this information. They're great stepping stones and moments and everything.
Sunday, December 8th, 2019. Welcome to The Funk. What if I told you, with after 29 years of personal individual study, I have perhaps calculated the meaning of life? You are now reading it in my
A meaning of life.
postulations, and it is known to be both true and false and every other variable that you are able to understand. To my study, by me now posting this information, here you are now receiving it and are able to process the information, and we are able to now further gather the data. Good morning.
He kind of missed a few of the inserts. To my study, by me now posting this information, here you are now receiving it, however you are able and or not, and are able to process that information, and we are able to now further gather that data, however you will and or won't. Good morning. What are you currently listening to or experiencing? Again, this is an example of I said this in 2019, right? And this was me on the second open forum of presenting this information to the internet, trying to have discussion on it and everything. And you're definitely about to see a lot of examples of me. I still feel a little cringe about this because I wasn't here yet. I didn't have the understandings that I do now. This was me diving into the unknown and exploring that. And so I don't have the best language to describe it. And so I say this intro right here, talking about finding the meaning of life or a meaning of life. But it kind of is. It's a meaning of life, which I think the meaning of existence is just to be, right? But the meaning of life is the journey of finding what each and all of our lives mean. Now, there is no exact answer of that, but that's my opinion. About to sneeze. Excuse me. But we're about to get into a lot of the 2019 and the forums and talking about, and so you are going to see what that was like and what I was like back then. Different y'all of myself than I am now.
What are you currently listening to or experiencing? April 21st, 2022. Only Shallow by My Bloody Valentine plays paired with Pairability. Link below. Do I currently feel shallow, then or now looking back at then? As I continue to grow, it ranges from less and less to more and or less. The above introduction was expressed by a different me with less information and experience than you.
Kind of passing up the inserts. The above introduction was expressed by a different me, a past yaw of myself, with less information and experience than I.
or we now have in the future. These days, I would say I have observed through experience a meaning of life, reality, and would like to discuss with you the continuously expanding ideas, experiences that we have collected together as groups and individuals. And if you are reading or experiencing these sentences, you are in a direct intersection of the answers and futures of life, reality within and without our futures. We have hit save within a reality we once perceived as unsavable. Is this a shallow thing to say? Are we occasionally shallow when speaking and existing? Yes, but I am at least attempting to not be and to hold, and be held accountable by myself and others.
And so this is an attempt to not be shallow, but sometimes I can be shallow. Just because you are attempting to do something does not mean that you are not doing the thing sometimes.
Sense by
But this is a kind of try to escape out the ego, which I am not above. I am affected by ego. And so the goal is to work beyond that, but I know that I'm affected by it. And so take that as you will, I guess.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard plays paired with Pairability. Link below. April 20th, 2024. Sometimes when looking back, I get that eye-rolling feeling of cringe at my yaw, like many of us do, wishing that I had a level of experience that I do now, that I had been able to express myself much more clearly, but these events had to happen to get us where we are now, and that retrospective cycle of evolution or growth will always continue no matter who or what you are, regardless of how much you understand. Each yaw is a direct part of the resulting who or what we are today. And we are presently becoming our future yaws right now as we caravanially transition through funk.
And that's and even now, right now, the things that I just kind of said about being shallow and everything, I still, in all of this discussion and everything, I still am not as clear as I wish I could be. I wish I could be so much clearer, but I know that I am a little bit more. I know that I'm absolutely more clear than 2019 me, that y'all, and each moment becomes a little bit clearer because I'm returning to this, and we edit it, and we polish it, and we learn a little bit more with every moment, and that's kind of the jazz of Jacques Lasping and exploring the unknown. And so, yeah, I'm gonna look back at this video and have some cringe, be like, man, I wish I could have said it this way. Now that I know these things, and I'll just have to deal with that moment when I get there, you know. But I shouldn't. You shouldn't be, and I shouldn't be. We shouldn't be afraid of doing and verbing because we get these feelings. Because if we don't push through these feelings, then what are we really doing? And again, that is not bad or good. It is just it's one of the ways that we be and that we are. And I hope I explained that okay.
Anonymous, 12/8/19, 449. What are you listening to? April 21st, 2022, Paranoid Android by Radiohead. Link below. Plays paired with Pairability. April 21st, 2022, Sense by King Gizzard, the Lizard Wizard, continues to play paired with Pairability. Link below. Sometimes funk doesn't make any sense, and sometimes it understands itself a bit more. Gonna take a break and finish listening to Pairability, gather thoughts and experience, process and sleep. Moments will pass, and even if I don't return, both here and there, things continue.
And thankfully, I have returned from that moment. Thankfully, we have returned and that we are continuing from that moment. And then, I did he read that?
All of the links below. Anonymous, 12.
Okay. So and then I request and suggest to you that you can travel to pages 263 or 300 in this treatise if you desire. If you don't want to read all of these forums and everything, go ahead, skip ahead. That's fine. Part of the treatise. But if you do want to experience this moment of 2019 and how we reached here, and you see some stepping stones to getting to this moment, then let us continue.
8/19/502. Further proof of point. Wonderful. Thank you for your attribution. Anonymous, 12/8/19/505. Lyrics for reference. Don't be afraid of the dark. Don't fear what you cannot see. I'll guide you through the maze. You can trust me. Don't be scared of the unknown. I've got the answers written down. It's really very simple and so profound. There's a universal truth right here for you. Don't be afraid of dying. There's a better state than this. I can take you there. It's a promise. Anonymous.
What an interesting thing to share when I asked for sharing music and everything. Again, some of these, the when I opened this forum and everything, I expected the internet as a response. You know what I mean? Especially 4chan. Uh, and I know that there are connotations around 4chan, especially now. But sadly, uh, when trying to present this information on the internet, there's not a lot of places uh, where I could actually do that, which I find incredibly crazy. Like when I try to post on Reddit and everything, like uh, the subreddit philosophy is so. I've never been able to post to it. They make all these rules and everything, and as close to the T that I followed every rule. For some reason, every time I've posted a video or tried to talk about any of this, they remove it. And it gets removed. And I see that they get upvotes for a little bit, but then one of the mods just shuts it down. And so it's very hard to actually get discourse about this on the internet. But additionally, not just because of that, but because also the internet is just in some spots like social media and everything, like Facebook. Some people just don't want to engage with this talk while they're online, escaping from reality in a way. But I think we're going to see some fantastic examples of how people responded and related to this information and the things that they shared, and uh, whether you think it fits in or not. But this is what the funk provided in a way. And so let's continue. It's also interesting if you think of it in. I know these are most likely people that are talking back, but when you think about it in the dead internet theory, that this could all just be robots responding back and just sharing random information, which they kind of are. Humans are just organic robots in a way.
12/8/19/542. Tekken World Tourney, hoping the Packies don't win the whole fucking thing. Brother Kilburn, 12/8/19/544. Sounds like one big funky ball of teats.
That's right, baby.
Anonymous, 12/8/19/605. Your response is an example of observable pattern. I am proposing you interpreted what I stated and just added to it, thus expanding, theoretically proving my theory, while also still not. Anonymous, 12/8/19/606. What inspired this response? Asking for further collection of data. Friday, April 22nd, 2022, sending to Stephen West. Hello, Stephen. Hope you are well. Thank you for being who you are and what you do.
I also sent this to Steven a couple days ago. All of this and these video links as well. Steven, if you're watching or reading this, I really do hope to hear from you. I respect your work immensely. You are a great mind, and you are able to share some amazing insight and translate some great things through your podcast and what you do and what you say. Mad respect, brother. So I do hope you see this, and I hope to one day hear your response about it, whether it's good or bad. I would love to hear it. And if you know Steven, give him a shout out. Tell him to engage with this.
Brother Kilburn, 12/8/19/609. No. See the clip? That is the funk. You are just a jive turkey.
And what he's referencing in both of those is old Greg talking about the funk and a big old funky ball of teats, and you're just a jive turkey. If you haven't seen old Greg, then you can absolutely look that up on the internet.
Anonymous, 12/8/19/612. Link below. Anonymous, 12/8/19. All of this is true. Anonymous 12/8/19/618.
All of this is true was in response. In the 7th edition, I add response text. In the 5th edition, I did not have that. Basically, it shows the numbers of the forum, and if you're familiar with the format of 4chan, you can kind of follow the responses through that. But I can see how a majority of people have never interacted with that format, and so in the updated treatise, I do have responses, so you know what each section and who's responding to what and where. It's much easier to read that way. But the all of this is true is in response to see the clip. That is the funk. I'm just a giant turkey and a funky ball of teats.
Link below. It's a screenshot. There's the screenshot. Anonymous 12/8/19/618. Very relevant. I love Depeche Mode. I hadn't heard this track before, and my research is now continuously proving to be true as you and we attributed to its further enjoyment and expansion.
And what I mean, and you're going to hear me say it a lot in 2019, of this is continuously proving to be true, because each advancement of it, every time someone else responds to it, this information just continues growing. It's just a giant snowball. And so that's kind of what I meant by that, of just thank you for your feedback. Your feedback is now added into this expansion.
Anonymous 12/8/19.
And it's helping prove my theory, the things that I'm suggesting, just by them interacting with it, showing examples of how all this communication and interaction influences each other and leads us to each and every moment.
619. Is this an advertisement for a Bandcamp album?
Absolutely. Check me out at Whodathunk Band, Whodathunk Bandcamp. I think it's bandcamp.com. Nope, it'd be WHODATHUNK.bandcamp.com. Or you could just search Hood Thunk. Those are Hood space A space Thunk. And find me on any and every platform. Not just Bandcamp, baby. I'm worldwide. But no, this isn't just a advertisement for a Bandcamp album. But I'm going to shout myself out anyways.
Anonymous 12/8/19/620. Can you expand on the idea of calculating the meaning of life? My therapist advised me that life's meanings cannot be calculated in the mind. It can only be allowed to find you through opening up to it.
And this is another thing that is a tricky moral, ethical thing. Is sharing this information going to, how's that going to affect some people? There are some people who might see this information and it might take them to a place that they might not want to be, or it might lead to a fixation, or it might start a cult, In my goal, I hope none of those things happen, right? But that's just going to be a result of doing and being. And again, I can't be afraid of not doing because of that. And so the goal and the intentions is to not have those things happen. I hopefully have positive intentions, not just intentions, effect and effect. Essentially, I hope my words are just not coming out. And again, if I was me 5 years from now, I'd be able to explain this a little bit better. Maybe, maybe not. But can the idea of the meaning of life be calculated? To be determined, right? We don't know that. And your therapist is right and wrong, to a degree. They're right for now, that perhaps we cannot calculate the meaning of life in the mind. And that rumination can drive some people insane and mad, trying to find purpose and meaning. But maybe that is the purpose and meaning, is the quest, the journey of doing that. But just as things in the past, some were false or non-existent and then eventually become true and existent, who's to say that eventually the meaning of life can't be calculated in the mind?
Anonymous 622. 12/8/19. What are you currently listening to? Link below. Let's make this a comfy thread. Anonymous 12/8/19/623. This is too difficult for me to understand currently. Could you help transcribe the information to me? Very quiet.
That was me responding to one of the video links. Uh, it that I still don't really understand. Basically, it leads to this video of just like what looks like someone doing a YouTube like phone tutorial, and then just whispering like this, and I have no idea what they're saying. That to me felt like, uh, and again, this is me projecting what was projected onto me at some points, but it felt like someone who was schizophrenic making all these like little videos, speaking to, you know, who and what, and who's to say that I'm not doing the same thing to you right now. I know myself not to be these things, but the argument's still there.
Anonymous 12/8/19/624. This is actually boring.
It can be. I mean, I understand the length of everything, of interpreting anything. Uh, Philosophy can sometimes be boring to some people. I find it fascinating. But there is also sometimes I find philosophy quite boring. Again, there are some philosophy books and some writers of philosophy that are so dense and so beyond my understanding that it's just like I'm not enjoying this. I am gonna put this down until I know a little bit more information and can come back to this, or have someone explain it to me. And so that's why I'm trying to expand formats, put it into video and audio format so that it's less boring. But I'm still going to get that commentary no matter what I do. Even if I made this a drug that you could take, I still guarantee someone's going to be like, this drug sucks. You know, this is boring. I'm tripping my mind off, but now I got to think about life and existence. There's always going to be that commentary.
Anonymous 12/8/19/629. Very relevant to this pattern. Thanks for adding to the understanding of it and everything up to this point of now. Anonymous 12/8/19/631. Really enjoyed this track as well. Bless music and you and their creation of this moment and the way it relates to us. Anonymous 12/8/19/634. This is you denying the information access to yourself. It is your experience, what it is to you and us and we. And the patterns I have calculated have told me that you and many others will say what you just transmitted.
And that's in response to the this is actually boring. And what I mean by that's you denying, it's not you being like, it is in a way a denial. It's not, I don't know how to exactly express that. But basically, you are saying no. Like, this is boring. I'm out. And that is absolutely your choice to do. Um, and again, I know that people are going to do that. I understand that people are going to find this boring or not want to talk about it or use ad hominem against me so that they can dismiss the information and everything. And that is kind of the denial that I'm getting at. Uh, and many people are going to do that, just that. And that is okay.
Anonymous 12/8/19/637. Yes, you experience boring, but it is now still a part of what you and everything else that exists from this point on.
To whatever degree that they interacted with it and continue interacting with it. I don't know if that person ever went beyond that comment. They could have commented that, and then closed the window. And that's it. That's their experience. Um, and again, that's okay.
Anonymous 12/8/19/639. OP? A little indulgence? Anonymous 12/8/19/644. Yes and no. I myself do produce music, and those sounds can be found on Bandcamp and all other streaming platforms or future collections of data as Who to Thunk across the internet and The Funk if you are interested. Additionally, your statement was also an extensional advertisement for Bandcamp itself, and also is what I'm saying, Bandcamp has reached and influenced us and will always continue to do so and not to do so.
And so this is just by them talking about it, they made it an advertisement for Bandcamp in a way.
Anonymous 12/18/646. Yes, I can, and also can you. You are right. I am right. Your doctor is right, and you are connecting to that calculation right now. As I understand, I am sending information to you, and then you back to me.
That was in response to, can you expand on this idea of, I'm going to read those out now that I'm thinking about it, so that you, the listener, can kind of have a greater understanding of what's happening and where we're at. The next is a response to a little indulgence. The same, no, it's a different question. A little indulgence.
Anonymous, 12/8/19, 6:51. Just posted a response and am now responding again with the post. Do you need more information to understand? If so, it is easily able to be transferred to you while also being in an effort of building upon itself to be more understandable. Closer and closer, everyone reading this will eventually understand if they make an attempt to do so.
And what I mean by that um, is they're requesting more information, right? And I'm saying, yep, I can absolutely do that. Now I say it's easily able to be done and transferred, and what I mean by that is it's more easy to do so than it used to be. Like now, with the help of technology, I and this random person somewhere in the planet, I can talk with, I can have conversation with, and connect with. We are now connected at that point in space time, right? Um, and because of that moment, closer and closer, each of us and everyone reading will understand eventually if you make the attempt to do so. And so, if that person continued to connect with this information, then they would continue to understand it a little bit more. Yes, it's going to be super confusing at first because it's a lot of information and things to take in and concepts. But if you continue to stick with it, your understanding of it becomes a little bit more clearer, a little bit more clearer. Um, this is may relate or not. But interesting story I heard today was about a guy who had started injecting himself with a very diluted venom from snakes, uh, and he would like inject himself with a little bit more, kind of like the story of how Napoleon like ate arsenic so that he couldn't be poisoned, and he built up a tolerance to it. This guy in right now in 2025 and a little bit before that has been doing it for so long that eventually he started letting snakes bite him and like directly, and he built up such a tolerance that he became immune to like some of the deadliest snake bites. And so doctors reached out to him and were like, you know, let's take that blood and um, let's build antivenoms with it and stuff. There can be stuff in your blood, and that's kind of, I don't remember how I was going to tie that in. Because all of this information, the start was basically putting all the venom, right, or whatever. Let's venom as a metaphor. Venom kind of as a negative connotation. Hopefully, meaning this in a positive way. So we took all of this information um, in a kind of diluted form of it wasn't translated to the degree that it would eventually become and what it still is becoming. But if we keep giving it the shots it needs, it's going to build up a huge tolerance of understanding. Uh, Hopefully that metaphor makes sense. It makes sense in my head.
Anonymous, 12/8/19.
This is in response to you just posted a response and am now responding.
6:55. I am very interested in this info if you really do have what you claim. Anonymous, 12/8/19, 7 o'clock.
This is me responding to that.
You are now connected into the funk. Do you have a question? How may I, or potentially someone or something within the funk, assist you? Interact in any way for confirmation. Anonymous,
This is in response to that.
12/8/19, 7:06. Well, for starters, what is the funk? I'm assuming it's something to do with music.
It is and it isn't. It's a way of jazzing within life and reality.
Morianon, 12/8/19.
This is, first is in response to what are you currently listening to, and then it's also in response to what are you experiencing.
What are you currently listening to? The ominous sound my neighbor's fridge makes. Or experiencing. A black Dunhill cig after a hot shower, nice feels. So why do you look so much into the meaning of life? Can't you be a normal schizo that browses, insert, like the rest of us?
I guess not. I guess I can't.
Anonymous, 12/8/19/708.
This is in response to the first post, Welcome to the Funk.
Seems like many people have a different name for it. Are you looking for useless information?
Yes and no. Some would say it's useless, but I would even say useless information is useful because we know that it's useless. We know that it's not useful, to some degree. Again, we've talked about that many times, so I'm going to move on.
Anonymous, 12/8/19/731.
This is in response to, well, for starters, what is the funk?
The funk is what you are experiencing as you interpret this information. And yes, you are correct to have that thought. Music and sound exist in this equation, and I can give you many examples of it, so you to I, and if you observe enough of it, understand it closer and closer. We are currently at that point of meeting a continuation. Congrats, y'all. We have accomplished the collective omnipresence. Welcome to...
I'm going to finish that sentence. Congrats, y'all. We have accomplished collective omnipresence and omnipotence, and will forever do so, as it is what we know and understand until there is further information beyond what you and I are now understanding. And so she's going to keep growing. And I said that in 2019, and here we are with its expandedness. And then that is just going to continue expanding in whatever ways that it does. And so let's hear what Jacob has to say about what he read.
My world. So I just finished reading my excerpts as assigned, and now I am giving my honest opinions and thoughts on my interpretation of how the book read, or I guess the story read, the content, and then of course any critiques. I guess I am by no means an author or writer or even a smart enough person to form a cohesive sentence without rambling, so this, bear with me.
I think it's kind of funny is not the word. I don't have really a word to describe it, but I think it's interesting how a lot of people thought that this was going to be like a story, like it was going to be this like a book, like that you would read and it would have this like adventure in it and everything, which in a way I guess it does, but it's just not the type of story that you would make into a movie, a film or a novel. It's a different story entirely, right? It's the story of stories. Um, Even though I told people what it kind of is, I didn't give them all the information of what it is, but I basically was like, I'm looking for a peer review of a study and everything. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I just found it interesting that people still were like, where's the story?
The first chunk of it was an analogy of how bands can become successful and maintain success. I guess musical groups as well. And reading it, it immediately made me think of the Fugees and Lauryn Hill when when they made "Killing Them Softly." It was a stupid, psycho, gigantic smash hit that she took 100% credit for, and decided that because she had the lead vocals on it, that she deserved all of the accolades and like 90% of the profits that came from the smash hit. And it doesn't work like that. When you're in a band, every small detail counts. Nobody thinks about the screw that's holding up the stage lighting, but if it wasn't there, yeah, Lauryn Hill, I don't think that song would have been the same without her, but would it have been the same without Wyclef Jean coming in with the backup vocals? So I agree with that, you got to worry about the smallest detail and make sure that everybody is happy and everybody gets an equal share if they're doing an equal part. And showing up and being a part of the community and giving energy is an equal part.
He gets it.
The next part that I really did like was write it down when you think about it. I make a bunch of TikToks, and I have a bad habit of having an idea and going, okay, I will do that later, and then I'll spend the rest of the day tweaking and cutting and shaving and editing in my head before I even record it, and changing it from what it originally was. Is it better? Possibly, but is it the initial thought? Kind of, sort of. You can't really determine that because I didn't record it at the time.
It's an evolved being.
So when you're in the moment, you're in the now. It is best to just exist in the now. The future will be there eventually, and when you're too busy worried about the future, you already missed it in the past. One thing that I identified with this entire story was the way it read. And I told my wife, it reads like a very smart person had a very good idea and had to get it out on paper as quickly as possible before they lost their train of thought. Again, my TikToks are like that. I just go bleh, and here's my ideas, and hopefully it forms a coherent thought. So I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the read.
Thank you. Again, my wisdom exceeds
the
my
one thing I
intelligence.
don't agree with, I guess, I don't want to say I don't agree because I didn't disagree with any of it. I didn't identify with was worrying about being in the now and being in the funk, as it were, and every moment is an existential lesson. And it really is, but if I made that a conscious thought, I would be too busy worrying about, oh, I should memorialize this and I should enjoy this moment instead of actually enjoying it.
And that feeds into the some knowledge and thinking too much is what causes suffering. It's not knowledge that covers that causes suffering. It's your ruminations on it. And so if you can't uh, teach yourself how to appropriately think and not ruminate, you can give yourself permission to like feel feelings and then be like, okay, it's time to move beyond that and past that. But that takes practice. And additionally, past traumas and everything sometimes keep you from doing that.
Imagine you eating literally every piece of food with the thought of this is the last time you'll get to eat it. Eventually, you'll stop enjoying it because you're too focused on this is the last one. You can't do that. Just enjoy life. Just enjoy the way it runs.
Exactly. That is what I'm proposing as well.
And again, I'm beginning to ramble, so you see me getting fidgety. The soulmates. Strong term. I agree, though. We all interact with each other and we change each other in such small, minute details that one conversation can change you as a person, can change them as a person. And you wouldn't even realize it because it was so menial, but you're walking down the street and you realize that you don't realize that you change the way you speak, that you change the way you think in one way or another. And it's because of that conversation that you had 6 months ago with Trevor down the street. It's like, oh shit, I'd never realized. So I did enjoy it. It was fun. Jesus Christ, this was a hard thing to record. When I send it to you, 18 minutes, and you'll see cuts, some of them good, some of them bad. I was going to heavily edit it heavier, but I decided to live in the now and be a part of the funk and let y'all see how my development went even in the 20 minutes of recording that I did, which was really more of an hour, and this is what you got. That was the best pieces of it.
And I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. That is exactly kind of what I was trying to get at, of just showcasing the realness of life as you move through it.
I made sure that what I read and what I recorded lined up and was succinct. I will not be watching it in its entirety because if I do, I'll get self-conscious and I'll delete it. I'm not gonna.
And again, that feeds back into the overthinking. Rather than being and overthinking, it's still good to think about it and experience it and look back on it. But when you overthink about it, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I should have done that. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut that, rather than just letting it be and being okay with that. Even if you do experience that cringe later, because you will and you won't.
To do that, I want to give it to you as it was. I hope I kept the intention of what you were asking for, and I hope I captured the heart of it. But long story short, to be a part of the funk is to just be a part of existence and to inject yourself into the universe and let the universe into you so you can, grow, continue with it. You can affect it yourself. It just happens. We're all basically fungi that exist, and we all share a root system.
Yeah.
I hope that this is what you were looking for. I'm sorry you had to listen to 18 minutes of me pick through words and try and say, cavernistically. I had to stop and Google that. Even Google didn't know what that word was, so good on
Not
you,
yet.
sir. You thesaurus, you.
Not yet. That is a word that came to me in a dream to help explain these concepts and things. And I also didn't tell, like, when I assigned these people, I didn't tell them about the words and stuff. And I was just like, again, wanted to see how they interpreted it and how they experienced it and everything. Some of them know what it means now, some of them don't. It's up to you whether you want to continue this information or not. But that's very funny.
If I need to do something different, let me know.
Nope, you did great. Thank you so much, Jacob, for reading and sharing your thoughts. Here, let me make this giant to get that cone out of the way. Nope, that doesn't work. All right, just leave that cone right there, and I'll circle it a little bit while to distract you from what we're talking about. Hope this hypnotizes you. Okay. Again, Jacob, thank you for reading pages 61 through 70. Again, congrats on your anniversary. Happy anniversary for you and Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea, if you're watching this as well. And Jacob, and you, the viewer and reader, thank you for being here, for listening, for expanding yourself with these ideas and your spectrum of belief about them, and these suggestions. In case I don't see you, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. I love you. The funk provides. Peace.